Hello, friend, and welcome to the 10-Minute Mind Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Janet Cagle, certified life coach, business strategist, and lover of all things related to up-leveling my life and yours. My goal is to help you experience a mind shift that gets you one step closer to your goals, whatever they are. My goal is not to keep you wrapped up in self-help all day, just 10 minutes. And who doesn't have 10 minutes, right? Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the 10-Minute Mind Shift Podcast. My goal today is to give you a 10-minute mind shift. Thank you all for the comments and the reviews. I truly appreciate you. And if you love this podcast and think others would too, feel free to share it. But what really helps is to leave a review and hit the stars. And make sure to listen through the outro to learn what's in it for you when you leave a review for me. So, we have already talked about availability thoughts, possibility thoughts, time thoughts, decision thoughts. Today, let's switch it up a bit and talk about indulgent emotions. Doesn't that sound like fun? Hang with me. You're going to really be able to move the needle in your life when you master indulgent emotions. So I'm pretty excited to share this episode with you. By the way, this is episode 10. Let's jump in. Overwhelm, worry, anxiety, resentment, self-pity, self-doubt, confusion, and indecision. These are all emotions that I would put into the indulgent emotion category. Why? We don't need them, and they serve no purpose, and they're just in the way, and they slow things down when we're trying to create the results of our heart's desire. None of these emotions fuel inspired, positive, productive, creative, or massive action at all. In fact, for most of us, these emotions create inaction. All of these emotions are useless, and yet, for most of us, they are our dominant and go-to emotion. These emotions are very sneaky in that they seem to be important, like worry. Worry disguises itself as care or concern, but I promise you, if it's showing up as worry, it's useless. Think about it. When was the last time you took inspired action from a place of worry? I know I never have, but when I have been concerned or care for someone, for sure, that emotion inspires more productive, creative, and thoughtful action. Worry and other indulgent emotions do not have us moving forward at all. In fact, they are a total waste of brain power. And here's what I want you to see. Worrying about something never prevents that thing from happening. Worrying about a circumstance that is beyond our control is not what prevents a circumstance from happening. Worry pretends to sound loving, right? It sounds like the right thing to do or the right way to feel, but it isn't. For example, the circumstance of your child driving alone for the first time could trigger worry. Worry seems reasonable given the circumstance. It seems like something that we should do because we love them and we don't want them to get into an accident. But think about you worrying and being in a state of worrying. That's not going to prevent the accident. In fact, worrying will keep you from enjoying the next step in evolution of your child growing up and stepping into more responsibility and all of the cool things about raising a human. Worry is not necessary, and it steals the joy and the excitement from the experience. Indulgent emotions are easy to access. They are plenty, and they are familiar, even though they don't feel good. We go there because it's familiar, and the brain loves familiar, even if it feels crappy. Indulgent emotions are 100% our brain's way of keeping us in the cave. So, how do we find ourselves in an indulgent emotion anyway? We think indulgent thoughts, of course. Indulgent emotions are created by indulgent thoughts, thoughts that do not serve us. I sure hope we don't crash. I hope I can stick to my plan this time. I don't know. I can't. I'm so busy. I'm tired. I'm just so exhausted. I just don't have time. Why does this happen to me anyway? He should appreciate me more. I should be further along by now. These are just a few that my brain throws me that has me pulled into indulgent emotions. Spending a lot of time indulging in thoughts and emotions that don't serve you is what is going to create the results in your life that you don't want. The key to overcoming indulgent emotions is to be aware of them as they creep into your day. And then when they show up, ask yourself, what thought were you just thinking that created that emotion? You can't get into an indulgent emotion without thinking an indulgent thought. So be really onto yourself and notice how clever these indulgent emotions are. Like self-doubt. Self-doubt sounds like it might protect you from failure. Wrong. It has you not even getting into the arena and quitting ahead of time. Confusion is another one. Seems harmless and benign, but confusion has you spinning in inaction. I see it when I'm working with my weight loss clients around creating their meal plans. They sit in confusion about what they want to put on it. It's our brain's way of keeping you stuck and not stepping into the discomfort of change you will experience as you evolve into your highest and best self. Self-pity, that's another one. I used to be in this one all the time. I would think, why me? Why do I have to struggle with this? Or why did this have to happen to me? Or I just have the worst luck. If you listened to last week's podcast, you heard our story about our move from Oklahoma to Florida. And as I've mentioned several times now, that even when you're living your dream life, life is 50-50. For the first few months when we arrived in Florida, I could feel an ember of resentment growing, and I would notice it when I would be doing things that I didn't have to do when we lived in Florida or Oklahoma, like walk the dogs and clean the stalls. I didn't have to worry about the weather and watch for sudden changes in weather in case I had to run to the barn and let the horses in, because we had such a cool setup that they could seek shelter anywhere on our 10 acres. And even though I loved Florida and it was our dream and it was amazing, I could feel resentment too. I was having thoughts like, Steve should appreciate what I do and how different my life is now and how hard I work. The resentment I was feeling was not productive at all. In fact, the resentment was stealing my joy. So I had to really dig in and do some thought work and think about what thoughts were creating my emotions of resentment. Indulgent emotions feel real. The thoughts feel true, and thankfully, they are not. Their entire purpose is to keep us from doing anything that would evolve our lives. It's a way to keep us doing the same things we've always done, even if those things are not good for us. A big trigger for me when I was not getting results that I wanted or getting them as fast as I wanted them. And I see this a lot with my clients and students too. So don't be surprised if that sounds like you. So what to do when you find yourself inside a state of indulgent emotions? Number one, ask yourself, what are you thinking? Do a thought download. Freely write out all of the words that describe all of your thoughts at that moment. Find the culprit that is creating the indulgent emotion and then challenge it. Number two, is it true? Is it provable in a court of law? Or is it just a thought? And remember, just because you think it does not make it true. And here's something else for you to chew on. Even if it is true, it may not serve you to entertain it for one moment longer. Here's an example. Even if it's true and provable in a court of law that I do have to do things in Florida that I didn't have to do in Oklahoma, what does it serve me to think it? What's the upside to that thought? No upside at all? Refuse to think it. Number three, ask yourself, what do I need to think to stop feeling confused, worried, self-pity, whatever your indulgent emotion is? Ask yourself, what do I need to think to stop feeling this? Number four, what do I need to feel in order to take action right now that does serve me? One emotion that is my go-to emotion, the one that I want to feel on purpose, and I guarantee you that this will work for you, and that is gratitude. So when you find yourself in a space of an indulgent emotion this week, I want you to run it through the 4-step process and then give gratitude a try. You cannot be worried and grateful at the same time. In fact, grateful and any indulgent emotion cannot be felt simultaneously. It's not possible. The best way to do this is to ask yourself, what is one thing that I can be most grateful for and most thankful for in this moment? And then ask for one more thing, and then one more thing. When you start your brain on a hunt for things that you are thankful for and grateful for, that indulgent emotion will disappear. So give it a shot and let me know how it works for you. My parting thought is this. This is going to take time and practice. If you have been a habitual worrier or resentment comes easily for you, that's just some old wiring that will need to be rewired. But I want you to know that it is totally possible, and actually, it's inevitable as long as you don't quit. That's a wrap of the 10-Minute Mind Shift podcast. I hope that you were able to experience your own mind shift today. Listen, if you're ready to take this work to the next level, I highly recommend Life by Design Academy. It's my one-on-one coaching program that offers you a transformation at the speed of life.